Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we begin an incredibly deep exploration of one of the most recognizable modern US dollar coins ever struck, the Sacagawea Dollar, a coin introduced with the intention of reshaping America's perception of circulating dollar coins and immortalizing the remarkable Shoshone woman Sacagawea, whose presence during the Lewis and Clark expedition remains one of the most symbolic elements of early American exploration, and in this extensive script we are going to travel through its origins, political motivations, artistic phases, historical controversies, composition shifts, minting issues, technical decisions, and the full story that transformed this golden-colored coin from a bold experiment in the year 2000 into a collectible centerpiece for modern numismatics. So as we begin our journey, let's go all the way back to the late 1990s when the United States Mint and Congress were facing an increasingly obvious problem. The Susan B. Anthony dollar, introduced in 1979, had failed miserably in circulation because it looked and felt too similar to the quarter, so Americans constantly confused the two denominations, leading to frustration among the public, retailers, and banks, and this coin's failure created a large gap in the U.S. currency system, especially for vending industries, transportation systems, and cash-heavy businesses that needed an efficient small dollar coin that could replace the costlier-to-produce paper $1 bills. And as political pressure increased to try once more to introduce a usable dollar coin, the Mint, members of Congress, and advisory committees began shaping the new legislation that would eventually become the United States Dollar Coin Act of 1997, requiring the creation of a new circulating dollar coin that would be golden in color, easily distinguished by touch, and featuring a design that honored a significant woman in U.S. history, and this opened the door for the inclusion of Sacagawea, a figure whose contribution to the Lewis and Clark expedition became a symbol of courage, diplomacy, cultural bridging, and survival in harsh conditions. And although historians debate the completeness of her story, her significance within American heritage made her the perfect candidate for a coin that sought to represent inclusiveness, respect, and the often overlooked contributions of indigenous women. So a design competition was launched, gathering artists from various backgrounds who sought to capture Sacagawea's likeness, but because no verified portrait of Sacagawea exists, sculptor Glenna Goodacker used Randy L. Teton, a young Shoshone Bannock woman, as the model to bring authenticity and cultural respect to the portrait, resulting in the iconic obverse featuring Sacagawea in a forward-looking pose carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, wrapped behind her as she glances over her shoulder with an expression meant to symbolize hope, determination, and calm resilience. And Goodacker worked carefully with Native American consultants to ensure that the hairstyle, clothing, facial features, and posture reflected cultural dignity rather than Hollywood stereotypes, while the reverse was entrusted to Thomas D. Rogers, who created a soaring eagle surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America and $1, representing freedom, exploration, and upward movement. And together these designs created one of the most visually distinct modern coins ever produced. Complemented by its manganese brass cladding that gave the coin its golden appearance, a deliberate choice meant to avoid confusion with silver-toned coins like the SBA dollar, quarters, and nickels, while also giving the coin a more premium appearance compared to everyday circulation coinage. And when the Mint unveiled the first strikes in 1999 leading up to the official release in January 2000, public anticipation was shockingly high, with marketing campaigns on television, partnerships with retailers, and even distribution through cereal boxes such as Cheerios, which incidentally produced one of the most valuable modern-era variety coins in history when a small portion of these promotional coins were minted with an enhanced reverse featuring detailed eagle tail feathers, a design that differs significantly from the standard reverse and is now worth thousands of dollars, proving once again that even modern coins can hold extraordinary value when certain production anomalies occur. But beyond promotional excitement, the launch of the Sacagawea dollar also represented a renewed push from the government to decrease reliance on the $1 bill, which costs more to print and has a much shorter lifespan than metal coinage. Yet despite the bold design, the marketing push, and the coin's unique coloring, the Sacagawea dollar still faced resistance from the general public because Americans had already grown accustomed to the dollar bill and had little desire to adjust to using a coin for everyday transactions, and as a result the coin faced challenges in circulation even though billions were struck between 2000 and 2008, with the 2000p coin alone reaching over 767 million pieces, a massive output that today leaves most common issues worth only face value despite being over 2 decades old. And still, the Mint did not give up, eventually reimagining the coin through the Native American $1 coin program beginning in 2009, which kept the Goodacker portrait on the obverse but introduced annually changing reverse designs highlighting Native American achievements, agriculture, trade networks, treaties, language transmission, governance, military service, and cultural excellence, creating an evolving commemorative series that transformed the Sacagawea dollar into both an educational tool and a powerful representation of indigenous contributions across centuries, while ensuring continued interest from collectors even though general circulation demand remained extremely low. And as we move deeper into the story of this coin, we will continue uncovering its production evolution, mint mark variations from Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the metallic composition specifications including the pure copper core and manganese brass outer layer, the surface treatments that originally aimed to maintain the golden color but proved to dull quickly in circulation, and the political debates that surrounded the coin's inability to replace the paper dollar, all of which contribute to the complex story of the Sacagawea dollar, a coin that may not have succeeded in everyday commerce but without question succeeded in historical significance, artistic achievement, and numismatic impact. Continuing this in-depth exploration of the Sacagawea $1 coin, we now move further into the fascinating world behind its production, development, technical engineering, artistic modifications, political motivations, collector reactions, minting statistics, and the long chain of events that transformed this golden piece from a hopeful circulating dollar to a cherished collectible. Because once the initial excitement of the year 2000 release settled, the mint had to address real-world challenges surrounding the coin's metallurgy, durability, production consistency, and public acceptance, and the earliest production years revealed just how complex the creation of a manganese brass-clad coin truly was, as the alloy chosen to give the dollar its golden color, consisting of a pure copper core bonded with an outer layer of copper, zinc, manganese, and nickel, proved to behave differently under striking pressure than traditional U.S.-clad coinage, which created issues in maintaining consistent luster, planchet hardness, die pressure, and long-term appearance. And although the mint engineered the alloy specifically to be corrosion-resistant, vending machine-compatible, and visually distinct, many coins entering circulation quickly lost their brilliant gold sheen and dulled to a dark, brownish tone, leading to public criticism and contributing further to the coin's struggle for widespread acceptance. Yet from a collector perspective, this created an interesting diversity of surface conditions, mint luster types, and tone varieties that would later become special areas of numismatic interest, especially among specialists studying the earliest die characteristics of 2000p and 2000D issues. As production continued, the Philadelphia and Denver mints monitored die wear, metal flow, strike pressure, and collar alignment to ensure that the details in Goodacre's portrait and the Rogers Eagle reverse remained as sharp as possible. But due to the hardness and unusual behavior of the alloy under high-pressure striking, dies wore out faster than expected, sometimes creating subtle die polish lines, weakly struck features, and light detail in Sacagawea's hair, clothing texture, and the field surrounding the design, which is why collectors today examine Sacagawea dollars under magnification to study strike strength, die progressions, and surface texture patterns unique to the 2000 to 2002 period when minting was at its peak. Meanwhile, Goodacre's obverse design itself became the center of special attention since the artist was paid her $5,000 commission entirely in specially finished 2000p Sacagawea dollars that received a unique burnished surface treatment, producing coins with a richer, smoother, more satin-like finish compared to general circulation strikes, and these special coins, delivered in sealed plastic holders, are now among the most coveted varieties in the series, often selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition, packaging, and certification, and their existence highlights the unusual and fascinating set of circumstances surrounding the coin's debut period. At the same time, the U.S. Mint also experimented with special finishes for collectors, producing annual mint set and proof set versions of the Sacagawea dollar, with the San Francisco Mint striking the proof coins using deeply polished dies and high-pressure strikes that created mirror-like fields and frosted devices, making the contrast between Sacagawea's portrait and the reflective backgrounds visually stunning, especially in early-state proofs where the cameo contrast is at its highest. These proof versions quickly became favorites among collectors, especially when paired with the annual state quarter proof sets, which were massively popular during this era. Beyond collector sets, the Mint also faced the enormous task of promoting the coin circulation, distributing millions of pieces to Federal Reserve banks across the country, but the low public demand meant that large quantities of coins sat unused in storage vaults, leading to a sharp decline in mintage numbers after 2001. And by 2002, the Mint officially stopped producing Sacagawea dollars for general circulation, restricting output primarily to numismatic products such as mint sets and proof sets, a decision that shifted the coin's identity from a circulating denomination to a collector-focused series. As political discussions continued around the future of U.S. currency, the Mint sought new ways to keep the coin relevant, culminating in the 2009 launch of the Native American $1 coin program, which retained Goodacre's obverse portrait but introduced rotating reverse designs each year featuring themes such as the Three Sisters Agricultural Method, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Lewis and Clark Expeditions, Native Interactions, Indigenous Trade Routes, Code Talkers' Contributions, and Native Astronomical Knowledge, each reverse meticulously researched and developed to reflect historical accuracy while giving the series a renewed cultural and educational purpose. And these changing designs not only revitalized collector interest but also ensured that the Sacagawea Dollar, now officially part of the broader Native American $1 series, would continue evolving decade after decade even though circulation demand remained limited. The Mint's artistic sculpture teams worked closely with tribal historians, cultural representatives, and academic experts to ensure that every detail, from clothing and tools to symbolic patterns and environmental backgrounds, respected cultural significance rather than replicating stereotypes, making the series one of the most meaningful and historically respectful modern programs in U.S. coinage. Throughout this process, production techniques at Philadelphia and Denver adapted to new reverse designs, altering die engraving depth, hub pressure, finishing methods, and proof die preparation to ensure consistency across millions of coins, while also updating anti-counterfeiting measures embedded within die characteristics, planchet dimensions, and edge markings. Even though these coins rarely circulated widely, they became increasingly popular in collector circles due to their large, bold designs and the cultural richness portrayed each year, and by the late 2010s the Sacagawea Dollar had fully transitioned into a collector series with stable annual mintages and an expanding ecosystem of grading, error hunting, die state cataloging, and variety attribution. As we bring Part 1B to a close, we now stand at the edge of this coin's evolution from a bold circulation experiment to one of the most meaningful and educational modern series in American numismatic history, and in the next sections we will dive much deeper into the high-value errors, rare minting anomalies, key dates, collector varieties, and the modern market analysis that determine which Sacagawea dollars can be worth hundreds or thousands today. As we now enter the thrilling world of rare errors, valuable varieties, and high-dollar discoveries within the Sacagawea Dollar series, the story becomes even more intense because this coin, while produced in the millions, contains some of the most dramatic, unexpected, and financially rewarding minting anomalies in all of modern U.S. numismatics. And collectors across the country constantly chase these pieces hoping to uncover treasures hidden in rolls, old bank bags, forgotten drawers, and mint issue products, with the most legendary example being the extraordinary mule error that pairs the obverse of a state quarter with the reverse of a Sacagawea dollar, a mistake so astonishing that it shouldn't exist under normal mint conditions because the two coin designs require completely different planchets, collars, and striking systems, yet somehow a small batch of these coins was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, likely during a die changing or testing process when an obverse die for the Washington quarter was accidentally installed into a press striking Sacagawea dollar planchets, resulting in a hybrid coin that displays the familiar Washington portrait on one side and the soaring eagle reverse on the other, all struck on a golden dollar planchet with the rim, weight, and metallic composition of the Sacagawea series. And the rarity of this error is so extreme that only a few dozen examples are known to exist, making it one of the highest value modern U.S. coins ever discovered and a permanent fixture in elite auctions where it has repeatedly sold for six-figure amounts, cementing its status as the crown jewel of the series. Beyond the famous mule, the early years of the Sacagawea Dollar, particularly 2000, produced numerous die varieties, hub doubling anomalies, planchet imperfections, and striking inconsistencies that collectors find endlessly fascinating, with double dies on the obverse showing extra thickness in Sacagawea's chin, eyelid, or the lettering, while other pieces exhibit distinctive die cracks that form lightning-like streaks across the fields or along the rim, creating unique character traits that specialists document and categorize meticulously. Another area that continues to attract serious collector attention is the experimental rinse error found on many early 2000 coins, caused by an improperly completed rinsing process that allowed certain chemical residues to leave spots, streaks, or unusual discoloration patterns on the finished coins, leading up to a lawsuit in which General Mills received thousands of specially selected Sacagawea dollars for use in cereal box promotions, many of which display uniquely bright or unusually toned surfaces that make them interesting sub-collectibles today. Likewise, weak strikes, which occur when insufficient pressure prevents full transfer of detail from die to planchet, created coins where Sacagawea's facial features, clothing folds, and baby Jean-Baptiste's textures appear soft or incomplete. These pieces, while less valuable than dramatic errors, still attract attention among specialists studying the metallurgy challenges of the early golden dollar alloy. The Native American reverse years also contain a long list of collectible varieties, including die chips in detailed areas like feathers, baskets, and tools, and small imperfections around lettering that create unique shapes resembling arrows, blobs, or raised bumps, each of which develops its own nickname and collector following. Meanwhile, the yearly shift to new reverse designs introduced even more opportunities for unintended die anomalies, and as production numbers dropped significantly after the early 2000s, the coins produced for collectors in later years often had far smaller mintages, making pristine high-grade examples scarcer, especially those graded at the perfect levels of MS70 or PF70 by top grading services. With the tightening standards of modern grading, a coin must be nearly flawless, showing zero marks, hairlines, or visual imperfections under magnification, to achieve these perfect grades, so even though millions were produced, only a tiny number qualify as top-tier investment pieces, and these high-grade examples often sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the year, strike type, and scarcity. Understanding these valuable traits requires collectors to study every detail of this coin closely. The steps of die life progression from early die state to late die state, the texture of the golden alloy under different lighting, the sharpness of Sacagawea's hair strands, the clarity of her eye and cheek contour, the definition in the eagle's feathers or the sculptural detail in Native American-themed reverses, and even the integrity of the rim and edge, all of which play a role in determining rarity, desirability, and market value. With all these layers of complexity, from dramatic mule errors to subtle double dies, from chemical rinse anomalies to the scarcity of perfect grade pieces, the Sacagawea dollar has transformed from a coin intended for everyday use into one of the richest modern playgrounds for treasure hunters, roll searchers, variety specialists, and serious investors alike, and these dramatic, rare, and often beautiful minting anomalies are exactly what make this series so captivating, leading us deeper into the elite world of high-value Sacagawea dollars, where single coins can reach staggering prices when the right combination of rarity, condition, and demand align. As we continue deeper into the rarest and most valuable Sacagawea dollars ever discovered, the story becomes even more electrifying, because once collectors began searching original 2000 rolls, sealed mint bags, and the special promotional boxes distributed nationwide, a surprising number of highly desirable errors and scarce varieties began to surface, each one adding new layers to the mystique of this golden coin, and among these rarities the spotlight often turns to the astonishing patterns created by early die wear, die clashes, struck-through debris errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, missing edge detail anomalies, and planchet flaws that accidentally turned ordinary coins into valuable collectibles. One of the most dramatic categories is the struck-through error, which occurs when foreign materials, such as fibers, grease, metal shavings, or tiny particles, become trapped between the die and the planchet during striking, causing a portion of the design to appear missing, distorted, or hollowed out, and these pieces can create breathtaking effects such as Sacagawea's cheek appearing sunken, parts of the baby's blanket being erased, or details in the eagle's feathers being replaced by smooth depressions that look like intentional sculpting but are actually mint accidents, making these coins extremely desirable to error collectors who treasure one-of-a-kind appearances. Another thrilling discovery area involves die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring faint outlines of the opposite design onto the die surfaces and eventually onto the coins themselves, creating ghost-like impressions such as traces of the eagle's wings appearing near Sacagawea's chin or subtle outlines of Sacagawea's profile appearing within the fields behind the eagle, adding layers of mystery and giving these coins an eerie beauty that captivates specialists. Off-center errors also occur when the planchet is misaligned at the moment of striking, producing coins where portions of the design shift dramatically toward one edge, sometimes leaving large blank crescents of metal at the opposite side, and off-center Sacagawea dollars with clear dates, especially from the early 2000 issues, can fetch significant premiums because they are not only visually striking but also much scarcer than similar errors found in smaller denominations. Another standout category is the broad strike, which happens when a coin is struck without proper containment from the collar, allowing metal to flow outward and producing a coin that appears wider, flatter, and softly rounded at the edges, creating a unique look that instantly appeals to error hunters. Even more unusual are multi-strike errors, where coins receive 2 or 3 impressions from the dies, resulting in multiple visible outlines of Sacagawea's face or repeated shadows of the lettering, and these dramatic anomalies often sell for extraordinary amounts due to their visual intensity and extreme rarity. At the higher end of grading and value analysis lies the world of professionally graded high-end Sacagawea dollars, where coins in top condition, especially MS70 or PF70, can command major premiums because modern coins, despite being mass-produced, rarely survive without microscopic imperfections, and the slightest mark can drop them from perfection to a lower tier, reducing value drastically in the process. The 2000p Goodacre presentation coins, with their unique burnished surfaces and limited release, have especially become trophy pieces among modern coin collectors, and when graded at the highest levels they often reach incredibly strong prices due to their scarcity, beauty, and historical relevance. Meanwhile, certain Native American reverse years, such as low mintage editions from the later 2010s and early 2020s, have become sleeper rarities where demand is steadily rising, especially for high-grade examples from annual mint and proof sets. Some years stand out for extremely low production numbers, creating built-in scarcity that makes perfect-grade coins hugely attractive to investors who focus on long-term appreciation. At the same time, collectors constantly examine the subtle nuances between business strikes, satin finish coins produced for special mint sets, and the deep cameo proof strikes from San Francisco, each one offering different textures, luster patterns, and eye appeal, all of which influence rarity and value. And as years pass, the hobby's intense focus on modern varieties has sparked renewed interest in the minute details of Sacagawea dollars, leading to the discovery of even more die cracks, rim issues, lettering anomalies, and small imperfections that create unofficial subvarieties, turning this once-overlooked dollar coin into one of the richest hunting grounds for variety specialists in modern U.S. coinage. With each new discovery, whether an obscure double die, a mysteriously toned planchet, or a dramatic misstrike, collectors reinforce the idea that the Sacagawea dollar is far more than a simple denomination. It is an evolving canvas of minting techniques, metallurgical challenges, artistic decisions, and mechanical anomalies, all wrapped in the warm golden glow of a coin originally intended for everyday use but now elevated to a numismatic icon. As this long and detailed examination of its value landscape continues, we prepare to explore even more compelling aspects in the final section, where the highest auction records, real-world sales data, and the most financially rewarding examples of this series reveal why the Sacagawea dollar has earned a place among the most fascinating modern coins in American history. As we now move into the climactic exploration of the Sacagawea dollar's legacy in the world of high-value coins and real-world auction performances, the story becomes more intense, more dramatic, and more emotionally gripping, because this is the moment where decades of history, design evolution, experimentation, mint errors, and collector passion converge into the ultimate question every viewer wants answered. Which Sacagawea dollars are actually worth extraordinary money? What makes them valuable? And how do these coins evolve from everyday pocket change into coveted treasures that shake the numismatic market, surprise experts, and inspire new generations of coin hunters to begin their own journeys? To truly understand this transformation, we must first recognize that the Sacagawea dollar, despite being a relatively young coin introduced at the turn of the millennium, has created an unexpectedly powerful presence in the numismatic world, largely because the early years of production were filled with experimentation, inconsistent metallic layering, fluctuating mint demand, and sudden shifts in public usage that transformed these coins from circulating currency into specialized collector pieces almost overnight. This transition set the stage for an environment where rare varieties, low mintage editions, perfect grade examples, and spectacular minting mistakes could explode in value. When collectors discuss the monumental turning points in this coin's journey, one of the most important remains the iconic Cheerios Dollar, a promotion that seemed simple on the surface yet ended up creating one of the most legendary and valuable modern American coins ever discovered. Inserted into boxes of Cheerios cereal as part of a promotional launch campaign, these coins were initially dismissed as ordinary, but years later specialists discovered that the eagle reverse on these coins featured far more detailed and deeply engraved tail feathers compared to regular circulation strikes, instantly creating a new ultra-high rarity that sent shockwaves through the hobby and elevated these pieces into prestigious auction items that collectors desperately hunt for, especially in flawless condition. At the same time, the introduction of the yearly Native American Reverse program beginning in 2009 added depth and cultural richness to the series, transforming what could have been a static design into a yearly tribute reflecting different aspects of Native American history, achievements, and contributions, and as these designs changed, the mintages fluctuated dramatically, creating sleeper rarities in years where production dropped sharply because the coin was no longer needed for circulation. These low mintage years became extremely important for collectors who understood that scarcity often determines long-term value, especially for modern series. Also critical to the Sacagawea dollar's rise in the collector market is the grading revolution that unfolded simultaneously, where collectors began seeking the highest graded examples in business strike, satin finish, and proof forms, and the difference between a near-perfect grade and a perfect grade could mean the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and a coin worth hundreds or thousands. The unique golden hue of the coin added challenges to the grading process, because the alloy tended to show contact marks, spotting, and surface imperfections more easily than traditional nickel-clad compositions, making pristine, mark-free examples extremely rare even in mint-released products. This rarity has fueled intense competition among collectors pursuing the absolute finest known pieces, especially in early years like 2000, where perfect-grade coins represent an incredibly narrow slice of total production. As we examine the most financially valuable Sacagawea dollars ever sold, we also uncover the powerful influence of minting oddities like mule errors, multi-strikes, missing layers, off-metals, or experimental strikes, each of which plays its own role in shaping the market. Mule errors especially stand out due to their extraordinary combination of rarity, shock value, and visual impact, and their existence continues to fascinate experts who still debate the exact circumstances that allowed such a mistake to occur. Beyond dramatic errors, the world of special releases, such as burnished presentation coins, enhanced finish issues, and deeply mirrored proofs, also contributes to the coin's complexity and its long-term collectability, especially when certain finishes were produced only for limited audiences or single-year sets, adding layers of exclusivity that collectors cherish. And as time passes, the Sacagawea Dollar's dual identity as both an artistic tribute to Native American history and a canvas for mint experimentation keeps it relevant in a way that many modern coins struggle to achieve. This richness of story, combined with the pursuit of perfection, rarity, and historical meaning, places the Sacagawea Dollar in a unique position where its most exceptional examples continue to rise in value, creating an exciting landscape filled with potential discovery, dramatic finds, and stunning auction outcomes. With this deeper understanding of how rarity forms, how value grows, and how collector demand shapes the destiny of a modern coin, we are now ready to move into the powerful conclusion where the highest confirmed auction prices, the most valuable examples ever sold, and the ultimate financial highlights of the Sacagawea Dollar series take center stage. Continuing deeper into the story of the Sacagawea Dollar, the coin's journey in the collector market becomes even more fascinating when examining the subtle varieties, specialized finishes, and lesser-known production quirks that have elevated certain examples far above ordinary face-value pieces, beginning with the often misunderstood burnished and presentation strikes created for numismatic sets, where the mint applied a different preparation technique to both planchets and dies, resulting in a smoother, satin-like texture that separates them from business strikes, giving these coins a distinct visual identity that seasoned collectors immediately recognize. And in some cases, these numismatic-only issues have produced standout examples with remarkably clean surfaces that graded MS69 or MS70, dramatically increasing their desirability at auction. And when we explore the distribution patterns of the early 2000 to 2002 runs, we find that many bags and rolls were shipped directly to Federal Reserve banks and stored for extended periods before re-entering circulation years later, contributing to the unusual phenomenon of high-grade Sacagawea dollars being relatively scarce despite the enormous mintage figures published by the U.S. Mint, and this is further compounded by the fact that vending machine adoption stalled, automatic payment systems resisted the dollar coin format, and public preference for the dollar bill continued to dominate, meaning that only a small portion of Sacagawea dollars actually circulated heavily, creating a strange supply environment where heavily worn coins are rare and gem-grade coins are also rare, resulting in a market dynamic unlike almost any other modern U.S. coin. And when evaluating the die life for this series, researchers discovered that the mint often extended the use of certain dies far beyond typical thresholds, leading to late-stage die deterioration varieties, including accelerated die flow lines, distinctive orange peel textures, radial striations near the rims, and ghost-like doubling that appears on Sacagawea's cheek, forehead, or the eagle's wings. And while these are not considered true double dies, they have nonetheless developed a following among niche collectors who specialize in minting anomalies and die stage progressions. And turning to more dramatic varieties, we center on the handful of mule-related minting errors that occurred when improper die pairing procedures at the Philadelphia Mint created dangerous opportunities for mismatches. And though only one confirmed example exists for the Sacagawea/Washington quarter mule, its existence is one of the most significant events in modern mint history, causing collectors to investigate thousands of coins each year in hopes of discovering an overlooked specimen in a roll, bag, or forgotten bank vault. And the legacy of this discovery reshaped how collectors view modern dollar coins, proving that major errors are still possible even in an era of advanced machinery and quality controls. And when examining the more obscure experimental pieces produced by the mint, including burnished test strikes, specialized alloy trial samples, and prototype patterns associated with vending machine compatibility research, we find a complicated web of recorded and unrecorded items, many of which never entered public hands. But their rumored existence fuels speculation that the Sacagawea Dollar series may hold additional undiscovered rarities, comparable to those of earlier American coinage. And when shifting focus to the secondary market, auction houses such as Rarities, Stacksbowers, and great collections consistently highlight top-grade Sacagawea dollars in their modern issue sessions, where examples graded MS70 or PF70 Ultra Cameo regularly surpass expectations, often selling for thousands depending on the year, finish, and demand cycles. And market analysts note that while interest in modern dollars fluctuates, enthusiasm spikes whenever new varieties are discovered, new golden dollar designs are released, or major collection liquidations flood the market with certified inventory, and this cyclical pattern has helped maintain long-term interest in the Sacagawea dollar far longer than many predicted, especially when considering that the coin's circulation presence sharply declined after the introduction of the presidential dollar series, and when discussing its legacy, collectors consistently point to the coin's meaningful representation of Sacagawea, a Shoshone woman who played a crucial role in the Lewis and Clark expedition, and while artistic interpretations of historical figures sometimes generate controversy, this coin has become a widely respected tribute, admired for its elegance, symbolic depth, and its departure from traditional presidential portraiture. And the use of a Native American heroine on U.S. coinage marked a significant cultural milestone, later influencing the Native American dollar reverse designs that followed from 2009 onward, each celebrating contributions made by Native American individuals and tribes, further expanding the historical and educational relevance of the entire Golden Dollar program. And as collectors continue to dissect the series year by year, die by die, variety by variety, the Sacagawea Dollar remains one of the most complex modern coin series ever struck by the United States Mint, filled with hidden stories, unexpected treasures, unusual strike conditions, and market surprises that ensure its place not only in numismatic history but also in the ongoing fascination of collectors who appreciate the richness, depth, and mystery of a coin series that began at the dawn of a new millennium and continues to evolve as new information, discoveries, and research bring fresh excitement to a coin that at first glance might seem simple, but in reality is layered with intricacies that reward those who take the time to truly explore it at the deepest level imaginable. Thanks for watching.